when I read your breakdown of kind of the censorship apparatus, going back even to the 40s, but then going up to the 90s and the noughties and then the teens, it weirdly parallels my experience on London Real. And I want to give people maybe a quick synopsis of what happened here. And then I want to get maybe your thoughts of what was actually happening. Because here I was, an ex-banker. In 2011, I decide I want to be the next Joe Rogan, right? Or the Joe Rogan in London. And I quit my job as a banker. And I literally set up in my kitchen and I started talking to people and putting it on YouTube. Like, that's literally what I did. There was no business model. There was no nothing. I was an introvert. I had no experience in broadcasting, but I felt a need to do this. And everything was great. And we were broadcasting along and building our brand. No one had heard of a podcast really in the world, definitely not in London. And we started getting a bigger and bigger audience. I always was waiting and hoping to get recognition from mainstream media. It never really happened. But we slowly grew and grew and grew, and maybe even built or helped build some of these networks as we produced this content that was consumed on them. Now, clock into 2020, 9 years later, I am broadcasting on April 6th. I have the second largest YouTube live stream in the world, and I have a 70-year-old man in the chair that's asking questions about lockdowns and distancing and masks and talking about these potential vaccines that we couldn't even see coming. And Mike, 30 minutes after that video that would have been gone on to be watched, the most watched video podcast in history, it was trending to beat the, at the time, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk 40 million number. That video was deleted and banned on YouTube. I had been broadcasting for 9 years, Mike, and I had never had that happen once in my life. And my initial reaction was bewilderment and then anger, because I grew up in America and this felt like a fundamental right that was being taken away from me. And again, I'd never experienced it before, ever. And that started a huge fight between us and YouTube and a lot of the technology platforms who continued to ban our content, shadow ban us, actually ban us. And again, it culminated in regulators stopping us, bank accounts being shut down. And that was all of 2020. And then 6 months ago, we were finally permanently deplatformed from YouTube. And so for us, it was a pretty shocking thing to happen. But now that I look back on what happened, Mike, through the lens of what you have seen happen over the last couple decades, it seems really obvious to me that it got to a point where potentially our messages were maybe starting to conflict. And so that's been our story here. We have continued to broadcast, but it's been continuing to be a struggle out there. And once I read the Twitter files and then learned more about what you do, I would love to get your thoughts of kind of what I experienced maybe in the early days when these media platforms were being used to get ideas out there, and then later how they were actually being used to silence people. And so I'm curious, Mike, if you see things that I might not see in my story, because here I am, I don't really see what's going on the outside. And yet it seems like you have a good perspective of what was going on the outside.
Yeah, well, the timing of that's really fascinating. You mentioned it was April 2020, right? That was when that interview was that
Correct.
Sort of got the first crack in the dam. Well, that happens to coincide exactly with the April 2020 Graphica report on how to stop conspiracy theories about COVID from floating around on the internet. Graphica is a Pentagon cutout. It was born in the Minerva Initiative. The Minerva Initiative is the Psychological Warfare Research Center of the Pentagon. Graphica itself has gotten $7 million in Pentagon contracts. Prior to COVID, they were principally helping the Pentagon identify social media narratives in conflict zones where the CIA and the Pentagon were operating. The chief strategy officer there had spent 25 years at the CIA. They basically did that military and intelligence social media network mapping work that became so pivotal in the run-up to and after the Arab Spring. Then they were repurposed for COVID censorship starting in December 2019. Between January 2020 and April 2020, they spent 4 months doing a detailed social media mapping of all voices, all political movements, all sort of highly influential media channels all across NATO, US, UK, Canada, and then into Central and Eastern Europe. identifying all the influential voices and what they were saying to the extent that it was heterodox with official government messaging on COVID. They published this in April 2020, along with a roadmap on how to silence these voices on social media. And I would actually love to go back into that report and see if London Real is mentioned. Although, like I said, that was the same month that was published that you apparently had your messages taken off the internet. And, the whole COVID censorship story is really a story of the blob. It's a story of the foreign policy establishment, the sort of joint U.S., U.K. transatlantic national security state, as well as its corporate and financial stakeholders who essentially are now in a kind of open conflict with the citizens of the homeland, the people who live there versus the managers of the empire, because their own funding and their own mandate is dependent on the votes of the people and the hearts and minds of the people. So in order to keep the people controlled, in order to keep the money flowing and the mandate flowing to them, they have become extremely active in control over social media, because now social media is where even the reach of legacy media is. So, I mean, there's a whole lot more there. But, the first thing off the top is April 2020 happens to immediately coincide with when the consensus started to form within the foreign policy establishment around the necessity of censoring alternative views on COVID-19. May I ask also, did you cover COVID origins in addition to vaccines on that discussion?
Yeah, we pretty much covered everything. I mean, in time we would cover everything. And when speaking with that guest, I think at the time we started talking about, Wuhan and all the rest. I mean, we were covering a lot of things. And it's weird, Mike, because I have recorded conversations with me and YouTube reps where I'm trying to get to the heart of why I'm being banned. And they're saying things like, anything you say against WHO policy now is being taken down, but sometimes they contradict themselves. And, we're right at the tip of the spear where, and again, it wasn't just one platform. It was like everything in concert. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I always say I leave that to my guests. But when when PayPal shuts you down and LinkedIn pulls your account and Dropbox removes all your content, even though I didn't know they were actually looking at my content, and then YouTube pulls you and Facebook and Instagram or shadow ban you all at the same time, you start to wonder. Now, later when I saw the Twitter files, it was like, oh, okay, now we actually know there were people from the FBI and the Senate subcommittees pushing through. But when you talk about this blob, that's the first time that I've ever heard anyone really talk about it in real terms, that there are these real groups that are out there really trying to push this narrative. And that's, yeah.
Well, I mean, you don't need to call it a conspiracy. You can just use their own term for it. It's called whole of society. All of these government stakeholders, in the U.S., it's things like DHS, Pentagon, State Department, FBI, HHS, our Health and Human Services, and for COVID, and NIAID and CDC. They have something for control over information online that they call the whole of society model. Now, they call it the whole of society counter misinformation, counter disinformation network. But they don't mean countering it with counter speech. They mean countering it by getting all the other aspects of the whole of society network to censor it. And the whole of society is comprised of these four different categories of institutions. There's the government side, and they call that whole of government. Those are those ones we just talked about. Then there's the private sector side, which are the private sector companies. So those are things like the tech platforms, the financial institutions, the censorship technology mercenary firms that we can get into, and as well as the sort of corporate social responsibility endowment arms of some of these private sector institutions. Then the third category, so you have government, you have private sector. The third category is civil society, and those are the nonprofits, the foundations, the think tanks, the NGOs, as well as basically onboarded activist and researcher, entities. And then the fourth category is media and fact checking, which are basically politically like-minded legacy media institutions, as well as this whole, newly capacity built swarm of government financed fact checker institutions, places like the Pointer Institute and other big umbrella groups.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, do you want to profit from crypto? Then join my DeFi Academy. The Crypto DeFi Academy will help you create generational wealth. But don't take my word for it. Listen to my students.
When I first got into crypto, I remember thinking to myself, I need to learn more. Brian Rose, learning crypto, learning DeFi, gotta do it.
I am so grateful that I jumped in and did this. I had to break through some limiting beliefs that I can do this, that I can afford this, that I can be in this.
It challenges the things that are deeply rooted within us.
Joining DeFi Academy has been one of the best decisions I have made on my blockchain journey.
This course was a life changer, a game changer, a huge eye-opener, coming from knowing practically nothing at the speed of the learning over 4 weeks was just fantastic.
The information you provided in this class was invaluable.
I feel far more confident in my next steps.
You took complex concepts and made them easier to understand.
What's different than so many other ones is it just doesn't tell you what to do. It actually makes you do it.
This is for people who are serious about becoming traders. This is the way it should be done.
I realized from this learning experience again that it is not about what you learn, but about who you learn it from.
The energy was insane. I've never experienced such incredible energy on a live call. Brian Rose, you are a legend, my friend.
It's the only thing in the market where you can get all information and learn everything what you need to know.
Everything is so clear and so well done, and I am just forever grateful for this program.
It made me feel so much more confident about crypto than I did before.
I did not anticipate how passionate I was going to become about it.
It's of course been like a big learning experience for me, not just in the crypto space, but just in overall balance of life.
What I've learned is, how to take ownership, of my life in a way that I really hadn't before.
Yeah, you can't put a price on that, really.
I would recommend it to anybody, top notch.
Excellence does not come cheap. So if you want excellence, you gotta pay for it, but it's so worth it.
Pull the trigger. That's what this course is about.
You're not going to regret it, really. It's amazing.
Thank you, Brian and team.
So what are you waiting for? Crypto is happening now. Click the link below, submit your application, and let me mentor you on how to create generational wealth and build the decentralized financial infrastructure of the future.